and notably the activities of the Secretary General's personal envoy, Ramtam Lamamra. I can tell you that Mr. Lamamra is currently in Cairo until January 15th, and that is to attend the 5th Sudan Consultative Group meeting, which is being hosted by Egypt. The meeting will provide an opportunity for renewed and coordinated international engagements to advance peacemaking efforts in Sudan. On the margins of the meeting, Mr. Lamamra will engage with key regional and international partners. We continue to work closely with all of these partners to support a coordinated approach to ending the conflict in Sudan. And on the ground, things are not getting better. Our humanitarian colleagues warn that escalating insecurity in the Kordofan region is placing civilians under increasing strain, disrupting health services, and triggering a new wave of displacements. In the city of Dilling in South Kordofan State, a medical association in Sudan tells us that 3 major hospitals are now out of service amidst ongoing shelling, and that 4 doctors have reportedly been killed. Continued insecurity and siege-like conditions have severely restricted access to life-saving assistance for civilians trapped in that city. We once again call on all parties to immediately stop attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure. We call on them to respect international humanitarian law, and we call on them to ensure rapid, safe, and unhindered and sustained humanitarian access anywhere in Sudan to all those who need it, and a lot need it. Violence continues to force families to flee. The International Organization for Migration is telling us that more than 2,200 people were displaced last week from the locality of Abbasia in the state capital, Kadugli. And that's all in South Kordofan State. These people were moving towards White Nile State. Local partners further indicate that families displaced from North Kordofan State continues to arrive in Gedaref, in Khartoum, and River Nile State. These areas hosting the displaced families are reaching a breaking point. Last week, our colleague Denise Brown, who, as you know, is our humanitarian resident coordinator in Sudan, led an assessment mission to Alafat camp in northern state, where authorities report that the camp has reached its full capacity of 3,000 households. Between 60 and 80 new families continue to arrive at the camp each day, and they arrive from Darfur and the Kordofan regions. Conditions in the camp, as you can imagine, are harsh. Sanitation capacity is severely limited, with only about 100 latrines available against an estimated need of 800 of these latrines. Local authorities further report that nearly 80,000 displaced families have now hosted across northern state, placing severe strain on food, health, water, education, and sanitation services, and exposing women, children, and older people and persons with disabilities to heightened risk. OCHA urgently appeals for additional funding so our humanitarian partners can scale up life-saving assistance and help avert an even deeper humanitarian catastrophe across Sudan. In 2026, our partners hope to help about 20 million people through the $2.9 billion Humanitarian Needs Fund and Response Plan. A quick update on the travels of our friend Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the head of our Peace Operations Department. As you know, he's in the Middle East. He is today in Jordan, in Amman. He met there with Jordanian authorities and discussed peacekeeping-related issues, including obviously the regional situation. Prior to being in Jordan, he concluded a visit to the Golan, where he met members of the UN Disengagement Force who patrol the Golan, and he was also briefed on the situation on the ground and the operational priorities of the force. Mr. Lacroix also exchanged views with community members in Quneitra on how the UN mission can continue to support them in these very challenging times for civilians there. During his stop in Damascus, he met with Syrian authorities and reaffirmed the UN peacekeepers' commitment to continuing to carry out their important mandate. Mr. Lacroix is also going to Israel, where he will visit the headquarters of UNSO, the UN Truce and Supervision Organization, and I assume he will have other meetings. And in terms of Syria itself, you've been asking me, and I think it was you, Edie, about our engagement and response in Aleppo, and I can confirm that we continue to follow the situation closely and remain engaged with all relevant parties. We are aware of the reports of casualties and injuries and underscore once again the imperative for protecting civilians as well as the infrastructure that they use. As of yesterday, our partners tell us that approximately 119,000 people have been displaced since renewed hostilities in Aleppo city. UNHCR and other partners on the ground are providing assistance to displaced families in temporary shelters and host communities. Support includes the distribution of blankets, mattresses, and much-needed winter clothing. We urge all parties to ensure the safety and the protection of civilians amidst the ongoing hostilities that we're seeing in Aleppo. Immediate measures are needed to prevent harm, guarantee safe passage for those fleeing, and uphold humanitarian principles. And turning to Gaza, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that the humanitarian situation there remains dire as harsh weather conditions are jeopardizing the progress made by the humanitarian response. To help address the immense shelter needs during the past week, our partners delivered supplies to 28,000 families, including 1,600 tents, 16,000 tarpaulins, and 27,000 blankets. They warn, however, that 1.1 million people still urgently need help as rainstorms continue to damage and destroy many existing shelters. Our partners stress that tents remain a temporary solution and more supplies are needed, including toolkits, cement, and heavy machinery to clear debris, as well as sustained funding to transition from emergency to early recovery efforts. Children continue to be severely affected by the cold temperatures and the harsh weather. Since the start of the ceasefire and at the end of this year, our partners were able to distribute more than 310,000 children winter's clothing sets and more than 112,000 pairs of shoes as part of the winterization efforts. They also installed 150 specialized tents across Gaza to be used as child-friendly and safe spaces. Meanwhile, our partners leading on addressing malnutrition report that last month they screened 76,000 children and identified about 4,900 cases of acute malnutrition, including more than 820 cases of severe acute malnutrition. This brings the total number of acute malnutrition cases identified in 2025 to nearly 95,000. Our education partners continue to expand their presence with 18 additional temporary learning spaces opening their doors last week to about 35,000 students. The total number of operational temporary learning spaces is now 440, accommodating about 268,000 children. Our partners say that education supplies continue to be denied entry by the Israeli authorities on the grounds that education is not a critical activity during the first phase of the ceasefire. We do believe that it is critical activity. OCHA continues to call for rapid, sustained, and unimpeded access to allow ourselves and our partners to scale up assistance faster to prevent further deterioration and alleviate the suffering of people in Gaza. Quick update from Venezuela, where a shipment of about 40 metric tons of medical cargo arrived in Venezuela from the government of Brazil. Our colleagues from the Pan American Health Organization, which, as you know, is the regional arm of WHO, say the delivery, which arrived late Friday, include essential medicine and dialysis material needed to maintain treatment for patients